If a single silhouette has defined the air war of the 20th century, it is the North American P-51 Mustang. In the popular imagination, it is the silver-winged savior, the fighter that appeared in the nick of time to sweep the Luftwaffe from the skies and escort the heavy heavies to the heart of Berlin. To the young pilots of 1944, it was the ultimate weapon. But history is rarely as clean as the legends suggest. The Mustang was not born of military necessity. It was born of corporate ego. It was an airplane the United States Army never wanted, and the British Royal Air Force initially disliked. It was a fighter that spent its early years as a low-altitude cooperation plane and a failed dive bomber. This is the documented archive of how an accidental design became the most feared interceptor in history. This is the story of the untamed beast of the skies. The story of the Mustang begins in 1940, before the smoke of Pearl Harbor had even appeared on the horizon. The British Purchasing Commission was desperate. They needed fighters, and they needed them yesterday. They approached North American Aviation with a simple request: build the Curtiss P-40 Tomahawk under license. But North American's president, James "Dutch" Kindelberger, was a man of immense pride. He didn't want to build someone else's design. He made a staggering counteroffer. Give me 120 days, and I will build you an entirely new fighter that is aerodynamically superior to anything Curtiss has ever put in the air. The British were skeptical, but desperate. They gave Kindelberger the green light. North American's engineers worked around the clock, utilizing new mass production techniques that were just beginning to revolutionize the American industry. They promised delivery by January 1941. The British gave the project its name, the Mustang, a tribute to the wild, unbreakable ponies of the American West. But there was a catch. To meet the impossible deadline, North American used the Allison V1710 engine. It was a reliable engine, but it lacked a turbocharger. It was a decision that would haunt the Mustang's early career. When the first Mustangs arrived in England, the reception was lukewarm at best. Royal Air Force test pilots were impressed by the plane's speed and agility at low altitudes. But as soon as they climbed above 15,000 feet, the Allison engine gasped for air. Its power plummeted, leaving the Mustang vulnerable to German interceptors. The RAF relegated the Mustang to the Army Cooperation Command. It became a tactical scout, fitted with cameras and sent to fly low-level reconnaissance over occupied France. Its first major taste of combat was during the disastrous Dieppe raid in August 1942. Even the U.S. Army was unimpressed. They diverted 57 Mustangs from British orders after Pearl Harbor, but they didn't see it as a fighter. They tried to turn it into a dive bomber, the A-36. They added dive brakes and hardpoints for 1,000-pound bombs, sending them into the heat of North Africa. But the Army eventually realized that dive bombing was a dead end for land-based planes. By early 1943, it seemed the Mustang was destined to be a footnote in history, a jack of all trades that was master of none. The salvation of the Mustang came not from Washington, but from a hunch. British test pilots believed that if the Mustang's sleek aerodynamic airframe could be paired with a high-altitude engine, it would be unbeatable. They looked toward the Rolls-Royce Merlin 61, the legendary heart of the Supermarine Spitfire. In October 1942, the first Merlin-powered Mustang took flight. The results were nothing short of miraculous. With the Merlin engine and its American version produced under license by the Packard Automobile Company, the Mustang was transformed. Suddenly, the plane that struggled at 15,000 feet was screaming through the air at 30,000 feet. Not only was it fast and agile, but it had a range that the Spitfire could only dream of. It was the marriage of the century. American mass production and aerodynamic design paired with British engine genius. By the summer of 1943, the U.S. 8th Air Force was in a fight for its life. The daylight bombing campaign against Germany was turning into a slaughter. Without long-range escorts, the B-17 flying fortresses were being torn apart by the Luftwaffe once they flew beyond the range of the RAAF Spitfires. The P-47 Thunderbolt and the P-38 Lightning were doing their best, but they had limits. The Thunderbolt's radial engine drank fuel too fast, and there simply weren't enough Lightnings to go around. Deep penetration raids into Germany were halted. The air war was at a stalemate. Enter the Mustang. The engineers at the Wright Field in Dayton, Ohio, realized the Merlin-powered P-51 was the answer. They added an additional 85-gallon internal fuel tank behind the pilot's seat and hardpoints for 75-gallon drop tanks under the wings. The Mustang could now fly from England, escort the bombers all the way to Berlin, engage in a dogfight, and still have enough fuel to return home. It was the long-range policeman the bombers had been praying for. The transition wasn't easy. A fierce political battle broke out between the tactical 9th Air Force and the strategic 8th Air Force. Both wanted the new Mustangs. Lieutenant Colonel Donald Blakesley, a former Eagle Squadron pilot and a man who famously detested the bulky P-47 Thunderbolt, became the Mustang's greatest advocate. He saw the P-51 as the only solution to the escort crisis. Through sheer maneuvering and military politics, the 8th Air Force won the battle. Blakesley's 4th Fighter Group became the first to convert. The impact was immediate. The Luftwaffe pilots, who used to wait for the Allied escorts to turn back before attacking the bombers, suddenly found themselves being hunted all the way to their home airfields. While the Mustang is often called the best fighter of the war, the archives tell a more nuanced story. The 56th Fighter Group, the Wolf Pack, refused to give up their P-47 Thunderbolts until the very end. They claimed 674 air-to-air kills, nearly 100 more than Blakesley's Mustang-equipped 4th Fighter Group. The P-47 was a tank. It could take a beating and keep flying. The Mustang, with its liquid-cooled Merlin engine, was fragile. A single bullet to the cooling system would seize the engine in minutes. In ground attack roles, the Mustang was far more vulnerable to small arms fire than the rugged Thunderbolt. Furthermore, the gained air superiority was not solely the Mustang's doing. By the time the P-51 appeared in massive numbers in mid-1944, the Luftwaffe was already starving for fuel and experienced pilots. The Mustang didn't just win the war through dogfights. It won by being able to stay in the air longer than anyone else. The Mustang's legend grew further with the arrival of the 332nd Fighter Group, the Tuskegee Airmen. Known as the Red Tails, these all-black pilots flew P-51s from bases in Italy, earning a reputation for never losing a bomber to enemy fighters, a claim that, while debated by historians, cemented the Mustang's status as the ultimate guardian. In the Pacific, the Mustang faced a different challenge: the vastness of the ocean. General George Kenney initially refused the P-51, preferring the twin-engine P-38 Lightning. He wanted his pilots to have a second engine if they were forced to fly 700 miles over open water. But even in the Pacific, the Mustang found its place. From the black sands of Iwo Jima, P-51s took off to escort the B-29 superfortresses over Tokyo. In one legendary encounter, Captain William Shomo and his wingman engaged 13 Japanese aircraft, shooting down 11 of them in minutes. Shomo earned the Medal of Honor, proving the Beast was just as deadly in the East as it was in the West. As the war drew to a close in 1945, North American Aviation even proposed a twin Mustang, the F-82. Two fuselages joined together for extreme long-range missions. But the age of the piston-engine fighter was coming to an end. The jet age was dawning. The P-51 Mustang remains a symbol of American ingenuity and the arsenal of democracy. It was an accidental masterpiece, a plane that was underpowered, unwanted, and underestimated, until the right engine and the right pilots turned it into the untamed beast of the skies. If you found this deep dive into the archives of the P-51 Mustang insightful, please support the channel by hitting the like button. Share this story of the fighter that changed the course of history. What do you think? Was the Mustang truly the best Allied fighter, or does the P-47 Thunderbolt deserve the crown? Let us know in the comments below. To continue exploring the deepest secrets of human conflict, subscribe to the War Archives and turn on the notification bell. Thank you for watching. Until next time, keep exploring the past.